Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson. And in this show, No Substitute for Work, we dive into the timeless value of purposeful effort. And something my Southern grandmother, Mimi, she modeled daily as she hand whipped meringue with a fork. And she raked leaves from the big oak tree out front without complaint. And her quiet diligence, it reflected an era where hard work was both a rhythm and a reward. So, we're going to explore how that work ethic has evolved through history and the lasting benefits of meaningful labor and how to define an ideal work lifestyle that balances purpose with peace. This is so important at mid career, halftime of life. And in a world obsessed with shortcuts and automation, well, this show reminds us that while tools can help, there's still no true substitute for the fulfillment that comes from honest, dedicated work. So stay tuned. Power of After is for you at mid-career, halftime of life, helping you maximize your skills, resources, and experience. We have courses, products, and help to make this stage of your life your best and most purposeful ever. Don't miss a single article, free download, or podcast. Get all the latest at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Now, let's dive into today's episode. For years, I watched my grandmother. She whipped egg whites by hand with a fork, transforming them into a perfectly stiff meringue to crown her famous, delicious chocolate pie. And I never once saw her use an electric mixer. And the 12 to 15 minutes that she spent whipping with that fork they were just a part of her rhythm, steady, patient, and purposeful. And, when I make meringue today, I do make meringues from time to time. Hey, I reach for my mixer, and in just a few minutes, I have the same beautiful result. But I'm reminded of something deeper. My grandmother, Mimi, well, she never shied away from work. And I can also still picture her outside her front side door. And she has a rake in hand, clearing the endless leaves from a giant shade tree that dropped them constantly. No power blower, and just the quiet, freeing satisfaction of an honest effort. So her example, as well as some others in my family, it just taught me something I'll never forget. There's no substitute for work. And the best kind of work, whether whisking a meringue or tidying up a yard, it brings purpose, fulfillment, and a sense of peace. It's the kind of work that just nourishes both the soul and the world around us. That's really important to be able to enjoy that and focus on that. And we live in a time when the pace of progress, wow, it's just breathtaking. Technology, it gives us shortcuts for nearly everything, for recipes, for communication, and even creativity. Yet the truth, it remains that meaningful work, it still requires time, focus, and heart. And Mimi's meringue wasn't just about dessert. Well, it was a reflection of purposeful work that refines us as much as it produces results. She was after the result of a great meringue. So let's just talk about a definition of purposeful work. And this is important at mid-career, halftime of life, when you're deciding what your next chapter looks like. Purposeful work, it goes beyond a paycheck or a to-do list. It's the kind of work that connects your effort with a sense of meaning. It's what happens when your talents, your values, and your passions, they all intersect. Where doing the work itself, it just becomes this great source of fulfillment. And work without purpose, it just feels draining. Some of you listening are getting that right now. You're drained. And you can complete tasks, you can meet deadlines, and you can still just feel empty. And purposeful work, though, on the other hand, it fuels you. It gives you a reason to get up early or stay up late because the why behind what you do, it's just very clear. Now, my grandmother Mimi's work, it had purpose, and she wasn't really intent on creating purpose, but she wasn't just baking pies. She was creating joy, connection, and tradition. That was part of her upbringing, and it became a habit. And every whip of that fork of hers was an act of love. It was purposeful, it was intentional, and deeply personal. And in the same way, our work, it becomes purposeful when we connect it to something greater than just productivity. We can connect it to serving others, to creating beauty, to solving problems, or even leaving a legacy. So when your why is very, very strong, the how it just becomes much easier, and purpose turns effort into artistry. So defining that why at mid-career or halftime of life, it's just key to creating a next chapter filled with purposeful work, whether it's expanding a career, which is entirely possible, whether it's giving time to an organization or fulfilling family obligations. So let's talk about just a brief history of the work ethic. Now stay with me here. I don't want to lose you, because the concept of work as something noble, it didn't always exist. In ancient cultures, manual labor, it was often viewed as punishment or something of the lower classes. And the Greek word ponos, from which pain originates, well, it was used to describe labor. Ugh, I always think of labor when I've had children, but that's what it was, pain. And the shift came through the Judeo-Christian tradition, where work became a part of a divine purpose rather than a curse. Clear back on the biblical account of Adam, he was tasked to work and keep the garden before the fall, showing that work was designed for fulfillment, not frustration. Well, he kind of blew it, and then his work took on a different aspect. And later, the Protestant Reformation, it reshaped how Western culture viewed work. Martin Luther and John Calvin, they taught that all honest work, whether farming, teaching, or trading, well, it was a sacred calling. And the idea evolved in what sociologists, can I even say that word? They later called the Protestant work ethic: diligence, integrity, responsibility. Those were all seen as signs of both moral character and faith. And in America, that work ethic, fueled progress, from the pioneers breaking new ground to entrepreneurs building businesses from their kitchen tables and from their garages. Yet in recent decades, the pendulum has swung. Our tools got faster, our schedules got busier, and our definition of work often blurred into this constant busyness. And somewhere along the way, working hard became confused with working endlessly. And the wisdom of steady, meaningful effort, like Mimi's slow and deliberate whipping with her fork, it has been replaced by the hum of shortcuts and hurry. And with the growth of AI tools, well, there's even more shortcuts available. Though used productively, they are very, very powerful. So let's talk about some of the benefits of work. Work done well, it has benefits that go far beyond income. It shapes character, it builds resilience, and it provides structure to our days and meaning to our lives. So, one of the benefits is that work builds confidence. and it builds confidence in accomplishment, even in small things, and it fuels self-esteem. And when you create, when you repair, when you teach or serve, you see tangible results from your effort. And each finished task, well, it strengthens your belief that you can handle the next challenge. Now, I have experienced this many times with music album projects, and it's a wonderful feeling when I hear responses from those who listen to some of the music I produced or written. I just heard this again the other day. They're telling me what their favorite albums are, and it's extremely satisfying and rewarding, because I'm thinking, oh, you're still listening. It's wonderful. So, another benefit to work is that work strengthens community. Every role, from the teacher to the technician, from the parent to the performer, it contributes to the health of a community. Purposeful work, it connects us. It reminds us that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves. We can see vivid examples of this in community work days, in soup kitchens, and in classrooms of every level. And every time we have a storm, especially in our area with those heavy winds, boy, the teams that do a lot of the cleanup, especially of the large trees that lose branches, well, they are greatly appreciated, especially for those of us who like the walk in our neighborhood. Well, so another benefit is that work enhances mental and emotional health. Now, psychologically, from psychologists, they note that meaningful work, it lowers anxiety and it boosts a sense of well-being. There are so many studies out about this. And when you engage fully in what you do, your mind focuses and your heart steadies. And it's why many people find like gardening or baking or even raking leaves really therapeutic. I definitely find that working in our yard, it is a wonderful diversion. And the satisfaction of trimming dead branches and seeing growth from purposeful pruning, it's extremely rewarding, even though it's totally different than any of my other work. It serves as a therapy and a time for creative thinking. So, another benefit, work reflects our Creator. Now, I am a woman of faith, so I know that in Scripture, God worked. He created. And when He finished, He rested. Read the first chapters of Genesis in the Bible for this account. Our work, when done well, it mirrors that divine rhythm. And we were made to build, to design, innovate, and to bring order to chaos. And in doing so, we reflect God's image and His plan. And the hardest part about this plan for some is to rest. Are you hearing me here? Yes. So, another benefit, work leads to fulfillment. True satisfaction doesn't come from just avoiding work, but from completing it. Yes. We find joy not in just the leisure alone or taking time off, but in contribution, in knowing that our efforts, what we've done, matter. And when someone brings a homemade dessert or a dish to a party, most people who have also created a dish, they will understand the effort that it took. And even though it takes more time to create something from scratch, it's very, very fulfilling when it's completed, and even more fulfilling if it turns out well. I always think of my apple pie when I think of this. It's so exciting. Then I love to share it. It's so much fun. So, how much work is too much work? Do you ever find yourself thinking about nothing, reading the same lines over and over and over again? Well, I found myself doing just that more than a few times. And at that point, it's really, really important for me just to step back and take a break and do something entirely different, at least for a short time, because our culture often glorifies overwork as a badge of honor. As those late night hustles, the endless emails, and the I'll rest when I'm dead mentality. So when there's no substitute, while there's no substitute for work, there's such a thing as too much of it. there's there's such a thing as burnout. You don't want to get to that point, at least very often. Historically, longer hours, they were just necessary sometimes as today's convenience they weren't available. Now, for example, in the 1880s, many workers labored about 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Whew. And when my father was growing up, he and his brothers, he's told us this story many times, they had to get up during the night to milk those cows. Nothing was automated. And the woman who did the laundry, they were thrilled with a wringer washer where the clothes were fed between two rollers and operated by a hand crank. My grandmother also had one of those. So much fun to see that. everything took a lot longer. But with the progress of automation and other conveniences, by the mid-20th century, the typical schedule, it had shifted toward that 8 hour a day and 5 days a week rhythm. So it was a lot less that it took with more automation. And some in my family, though, they held working more as a badge of honor. It's kind of a Southern thing. But overwork, it can be just as unproductive as laziness. It drains creativity and it damages relationships and it leads to exhaustion and, yes, burnout. Healthy work, it honors both the process and the breaks. It means giving your best effort and then trusting that what's unfinished today, well, it can wait until tomorrow. And productivity is very, very powerful. I love to produce. I love to finish projects, but peace and rest is priceless and also very valuable for our health and actually for our mental clarity. So here are some steps, and these are all in the article. Make sure you get the article that comes with this. The steps to define your ideal work lifestyle. And this is just a beginning, something to pique your interest. Finding balance doesn't mean doing less. It means doing the right things with the right mindset. And it also means defining your ideal life work schedule and purpose of work. And so I write about this a lot in my books. Make sure you pick up one of those to go further here. But here are 5 steps to help you define your ideal work lifestyle, and they are all in the article. Identify your core purpose. Oh, this is so important. Ask yourself why you work. Is it to create, to serve, to provide, to grow? Now, I renew my purpose consistently to clarify my messaging because clarifying your why, it helps align your daily efforts with your larger vision. You need to write that down, keep it visible, and let it guide your decisions, whether it's in your type of work, your marketing, or your professional development. Very, very important. And number 2, after that, your purpose is to your core values is to recognize what energizes you. Not all work is draining. Some tasks actually energize you because they fit with your strengths and passions. And notice what makes time fly. Now, that's a clue to where your best work lives when time just flies by. So number 3, these are going fast, so make sure you get the article. Create rhythms of work and rest. So evaluate your daily rhythmic energy and focus. For example, I do rote work very early in the morning, but I do my main writing and creating after exercising, breakfast, and yes, at least 1 cappuccino. And as a solopreneur, I write down my schedule and my task list for the week. I look ahead, of course, and I've planned in my quarters and my year ahead a time too. But then I review the day's schedule the night before, and it reduces this emotional brain power I need to be my most productive self. And it also saves a lot of time. You will have your own rhythm. Intense focus followed by intentional rest it's sustainable and it's extremely rewarding. So take the time to define your rhythm. How do you work best? And number 4, plan with purpose. Oh, I'm so big on planning because you want to set long-range goals that align with your values and your short-term actions that make them achievable. And the book, Tiny Habits, if you've not read that, it's a great resource with documented studies on the value of taking very, very small steps to achieve larger goals. And a good, healthy goal that's measurable and obtainable, it is so extremely satisfying. And it doesn't have to be huge, but it should be clear. And it can also shift slightly if needed. So break any big goal into daily habits with very small steps and celebrate steady progress. Now, we have free goal worksheets that you can download. So make sure you take advantage of some of those downloads that we provide. Number 5, redefine success. Oh, this is important. Success isn't measured just by busyness, status, or income. It's measured by alignment. Are you living a life that matches your purpose? Or are you giving your best when it truly matters and where it truly matters? Sometimes success looks like saying no to more projects and events so you can say yes to the meaningful activities and those that bring true fulfillment. And no is one of the hardest words in our vocabulary to incorporate, at least for most people. And sometimes I think I just have to start my day practicing saying that word. No, it's hard, but that's so important. So let's bring some of this all together. When I think back to Mimi's kitchen, I can still hear the quiet rhythm of her fork tapping the side of the bowl. Now, I don't think she was thinking about living large with purpose and huge goals. Oh, no way. But she was just focused on doing one job at a time very well and completely. And her pies, her candy, and even her raking accomplished what she set out to do. I never heard her complain. She just simply did the work, knowing that the end result, it was very worth the effort. And that's the heart of the principle. There's no substitute for work. Now, the tools may change, but the truth doesn't. So, whether you're building a business, whether you're writing a book, raising a family, or taking care of others, the most meaningful results still come from showing up, staying steady, and giving your best. So important. Work, when done with purpose and intention, it refines us. It teaches patience. It builds resilience, and it reveals character, like that perfectly whipped meringue. It takes time, consistency, and care and planning, but the result is something beautiful, lasting, and deeply satisfying, unless it's a chocolate pie. Yeah, extremely satisfying, but it will not last. Well, there will always be faster tools and easier paths, but the deepest fulfillment still comes from effort aligned with purpose. So do the work that matters. Find joy in the process. I really want you to find joy. And when life feels heavy, well, just remember Mimi's quiet strength, the truth that is as timeless and delicious as her chocolate pie. There's no substitute for work. So to apply this even further, ask yourself these questions. These are really important. Read the article, review these questions. Is my work serving my life, or is my life just serving my work? Do I feel energized or depleted by my daily routine? And have I built space for rest, reflection, and renewal? Oh, those are such important questions. And when you are identifying your lifestyle, your ideal lifestyle at this point, maybe you've had this very successful career, or you'd like to expand a little bit in certain areas of the career that you're at, but you're mid-career, you're thinking, okay, what's next? What am I going to do for the next 20 years? If I'm able to live with health, what do I really want to do? Whether it's creating more of a legacy, whether it's giving to others, whether it's expanding what you're doing there, or some people just put off their dreams for so long. And at this point, you have the experience, you have the skills, and usually you have some resources to spend on that as well. So those are all very important things to just really think of your core values, of your core mission, of what you want to do next, and plan ahead and not be afraid of work, because it is work to get going. So thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully this was all encouraging for you and just kind of fun to think about. You probably have a grandmother that did some of the same thing, maybe, who knows? But anyway, it was just really fun for me to remember a couple of those great memories and to share them with you. Deborah Johnson, make sure you connect with me, that you get our articles as well, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. I also do consulting and a certain amount of private clients as well as speaking. So make sure you connect with me, and we can set up a free time to just connect really briefly if you are interested. Thanks again, and I will look forward to being with you again next time. Bye-bye for now. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I love bringing you insights to help you maximize your skills, resources, and experience at mid-career and beyond, so that you can make your next chapter your most impactful and purposeful yet. I'm Deborah Johnson, and I can't wait to be with you again next time on the Power of After show.